Welcome to Penn Jen's Inkwell podcast. My name is Jen Waters. I hope you enjoy my stories. Kisses is the first story on the 10-track children's music and spoken word Apple Music release, Wonderland, which is inspired by Alice in Wonderland, which came out in November 2014. I wrote Kisses because of my love for Milton Hershey. I also adapted the short story into a 2-act stage musical that now needs to be workshopped. I grew up in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and went to the Hershey Public Schools for my entire K-12 education. Of course, Hershey is the home of the Hershey Company, founded by entrepreneur Milton S. Hershey. Everyone in Hershey knows the life story of Milton and his wife, Catherine Hershey, especially because of the Milton Hershey School, a cost-free, private, co-residential school and home for children from lower-income families located in Hershey, Pennsylvania. To this day, the money from the Hershey Company funds the school. If you've ever been to Hershey, you know it is a very small town, but you can visit Hershey Park, the Hotel Hershey, Hershey's Chocolate World, and the Hershey Story Museum. In elementary school, my class toured the actual chocolate factory, but it is closed to the public. So if you want to know about Milton Hershey, you can go to Chocolate World or the Hershey Story Museum. My main goal in my teenage years was to never work at Hershey Park because the tourists drove all the local people crazy. But we did, of course, appreciate their business. So I worked at the Hotel Hershey and the Hershey Pool as a lifeguard. During my time working as a lifeguard at the Hotel Hershey, where you could get a massage and chocolate, I actually had a few instances where I wore the Hershey Kiss outfit for the tourists. It was heavy and hot, but fun for a bit. I also must have rode the Hershey's Chocolate World ride so many times that I have the story ingrained in my brain. It dawned on me one day that people outside of Hershey don't know the story of the Mennonite man who went bankrupt trying to make caramels, but succeeded by using dairy cows to make a fortune in milk chocolate, only to give all his money away to orphans when his wife could not have children. He was really a bit of George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life, and real-life Willy Wonka from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He is also considered by much of the Jewish community as a righteous Gentile because he made the ration D bars for soldiers and Holocaust survivors during World War II. Also, as a side note, Major Dick Winters, who was featured in Steven Spielberg's Band of Brothers, was also from the Hershey area. Ironically, Wall Street hated Milton Hershey because it could not control him. They wanted his company to sell it and make more money, not much different than many businesses today. Milton was such a rare person because he was raised a strict Mennonite and taught to read the Bible by his mother and also to be an entrepreneur and a dreamer by his father. And he got the best of both parents and is one of the most influential men to ever live. Even after his death, his life goes on. He never had any biological children, but has so many adopted sons and daughters through his school that he has been a father to generations. This story is scored to Yankee Doodle Dandy because it seemed like the perfect Americana song to honor Milton. This is Kisses. I hope you enjoy it.
Milton Hershey grew up a simple farm boy in Pennsylvania. His mother, Fanny, read the good book to him every day. His father, Henry, taught him to dream and take chances. Milton watched his father struggle to make money in oil and trout fishing, so his first job was in a candy shop where he could learn to make caramels. After years of being an apprentice, Milton opened his own caramel company. His Aunt Mattie believed in him so much that she paid to set up the business. But business was tough, and Milton ended up going bankrupt more than once. Milton finally got his caramel company going when a British importer made a large order. The local banker gave Milton the money he needed to fulfill the shipment of candy. After that, business started booming, and Milton tasted sweet success. While selling caramels in New York, he met a beautiful woman named Kitty Sweeney. After a whirlwind romance, They married and planned to have many children. With the success of Milton's Lancaster Caramel Company, he started to make chocolate. He made creamy milk chocolate that melts beneath your tongue and was as rich as butter. After he sold the caramel business, he built the Hershey Chocolate Company. He based his factory in the cornfields of Pennsylvania, where dairy farmers raised cows. At his new factory, he made chocolate candy bars and kisses. The factory had so many workers that he had to build a town. So he founded the town of Hershey for his workers and their families. The town had a zoo, a trolley, a baseball field, a school, a hospital, and churches. Each worker had an original home, distinct and unique. As Milton's Chocolate Company became more and more successful, Kitty's health began to fail, and she could not have children. She was so sad. She wanted to start a family with Milton. Then she had the idea to start the Hershey Industrial School for orphan boys. Boys applied from all over the country. Nelson and Irvin were the first boys accepted. Milton aimed to raise boys that were productive members of society with good virtues. He taught them to work hard and live by the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Milton's Wall Street competitors became angry that he gave money to the orphans. They told him to stop being so generous and try to make a larger profit with his money. Kitty loved the boys so much as they were her own children. However, her body deteriorated and she could no longer walk and rode in a wheelchair. One day, when Kitty and Milton were resting at the ocean, Milton got called away for business and he left Kitty at the beach house with her nurse. Kitty got restless and decided that she should go back to Hershey with Milton. As her nurse drove home, Kitty forgot to roll up the windows. She could not feel the cold air on her skin, and her body became frostbitten. The nurse stopped the car at the closest hotel and got a room for the night. By the time Milton arrived in the morning, Kitty was close to dying. She asked him for a glass of champagne, and when he returned, Kitty had passed away. Milton dropped to his knees, crying and crying. He was stricken with grief. In Kitty's honor, Milton gave his entire fortune of $60 million to his orphan school. He wanted the school to last for many years to come. Milton's competitors and Wall Street bankers were so jealous of his successes. The bankers wanted to destroy his town and company. They tried to put themselves in charge of his company by buying the controlling stock. The scheme didn't work, though, because the stock market crashed and the deal fell through. Milton was so happy that outsiders never took control of his town and company. In time, Hershey Chocolate reached enormous global success. Now Milton was known for his generosity all over this great big world. During World War II, Milton even found a way to serve his country with chocolate. He produced ration D bars and tropical chocolate bars for the U.S. military. Today, the Hershey Company is a global leader in chocolate production. The Milton Hershey School serves many orphan boys and girls. Milton has been a father to many generations through his sweet milk chocolate. All it took was one man with a big dream, a heart full of love, and kisses.
has been Pen Gen's Inkwell podcast. I wrote and performed all the original stories in the podcast. This podcast is produced by Eric Baines, who scored all the stories and poems in the series to original and public domain music. The podcast is associated with my blog of the same name, Pen Gen's Inkwell, which can be found on my website, jenwaters.com.